What was your worst consensual SZUL experience? I am originally from Latvia and speak also Russian. Then moved to UK and went a few dates with English girl. She really liked that I know Russian language, but I didn't know at that point that it is hers fetish. So one night we were in bed pretty drunk, and once we got busy she said, "Oh yeah, talk to me in Russian." And I didn't really want to do it. And I said no. And she begged more and more until it kinda reached the point where I sort of wasn't into it all, and then I thought I'll just say something, so while in doggy style I told her about my trip to Aldi buying milk and eggs and stuff in Russian. She broke my rib. She was riding me and while repositioning herself she pushed on my chest. But at the level of my floating ribs. I had had a couple of drinks so I didn't feel the pain right away. But I definitely heard the crack sound. Next day and weeks were not fun. She was worth it though. Drunk hookup. She was riding me and I badly needed a drink of water from the dry mouth setting in. Grabbed her by the hips and drunkenly mumbled water. She took that as a cue to ride my dick faster and harder. Choke me. And pour the full glass of water on my bedside table over me slowly. We're still friends. To this day she can't explain why she interpreted it that way. When my husband and I were dating, there was a period of a few days where he would get an instant migraine immediately after finishing. Google post-coital headaches if this sounds familiar. It's a thing that can happen. When you finish up a BJ and the response you get is the other party lurching over to the bedroom trash can to violently puke. Kinda puts a damper on things. Not just once, but the last couple of years my ex and I were together. He wanted sex every day. That was okay. But he preferred that I was bone dry before entering me. He said it felt better. And I, like an idiot, went along with this. F-king every night. Then sneaking off to the bathroom to hold a cold washcloth against my burning ladder bits and crying. Go to bedroom. I'm what they call a pillow princess. What's that? My thing is I lie here and don't do anything. Before that I didn't realize being a lazy boring lover was a fetish. When I first lost my virginity, I accidentally slipped out of her and unknowingly just continued to screw the sheets. She started laughing and I was humiliated. Guy told me before doing it that I was the first girl he was going to remember sleeping with. He was blackout drunk for the real first time apparently. He asked if I wanted a beer beforehand. I said okay and he handed me an already open one sitting on his table that was half gone and had obviously been sitting out for a while. As for the sex itself, I had to show him how to put on a condom. He tried to use hand lotion as lube, which I politely explained to him was not a good idea. The sex was terrible. Just awkward thrusting that I quickly just wanted to be over. And he finished, he said very nice in a Borat voice and high-fived me. When he finished he said very nice in a Borat voice and high-fived me. F-king legend. I was having sex with some guy who seemed funny and charming, who I'd been talking to for a couple weeks. It was soon after I had left a very unpleasant, angry partner who had not wanted sex. So there I was sleeping with this new guy after a while of no sex, and I did not expect anything serious from new guy BTW. But during sex he kept crying out, "Oh, why didn't your ex want this PSSY? What did he think was wrong with you?" A girl gave me an Indian burn on my dick, jacking me off. It scabbed over and hurt like hell. There was a super hot girl in high school a year ahead of me who was quietly known as Chafe Job. She was hot enough no one corrected her or turned down the opportunity to find out if her technique had improved. I like to think that she was just trolling teenage boys after a while. She says I can't feel you and starts crying. I ask her to clarify. She then says no. I feel your dick but not the connection between us, then proceeds to break up with me while I have a boner. She felt the dick in your pants, but not the dick in your heart. In the middle of her riding me, we both broke down crying and admitted we were using this experience to try to get over someone else and it was tearing us apart. We ended up cuddling and crying the night away instead. This is sad but in the sweetest way possible. Short and to the point. SX in the woods. On poison ivy. Doing 69 with her on top of me. She let out a little fart. That would have been fine. Except she started laughing because of it and proceeded to trumpet blast farts in my face. We never 69'd after that, and to this day it makes me nervous with my current GF. I was really drunk and waiting in line for a bathroom at a frat house when it was my turn to go, and the girl behind me pushed me into the restroom and shut the door behind her. She proceeded to pull my pants down and gave me the toothiest blowjob of my life. I said no thanks and I put my hand on her forehead and pushed her off, and she sat on the toilet and started to ugly cry. I had no idea what to do, but I had to pee so bad, so I just stood there saying I'm sorry until she left. Edit. This was nearly 20 years ago. And although today would be considered a textbook example of sexual assault, my only concern then was my foreskin. I used to be handsome and naive. Girls would have to come on a fairly strong before I would get the hint that they wanted something sexual. I also left out a few details for the sake of brevity and privacy. I knew this girl. She had been flirting with me all night, which only became obvious to me after she started to cry. A girl called me Dad. Started out with Daddy. Then she shortened it to Dad. IDK, what my kids are gonna be able to call me now. Hello father. A few years ago, a past partner and I were going at it. He had a cold, and his nose was running terribly. There we were. Him on top of me, and a giant glob of snot just splattered out onto my face. His immediate split-second reaction was to quickly lean in and lick it off my face. And then he kept going, pumping away like nothing had happened. It was too awkward for me to stop him. I was f***ing my girlfriend. We had both only started recently having sex, so we didn't have much experience. Accidentally slipped into her butt mid-coitus. She started crying and I started coming. We're married now. My HS girlfriend tried giving me a hand job with this special oil. It was supposed to be stimulating and adventurous. It burned. A lot. Another time I was blackout drunk and threw up out the window of an SUV while the girl was giving me head. She drove me home and we banged in the front seat parked outside of my house. Kind of a low point in my life. Girl I was dating in university decided to try deep throating for the first time. While in a 69. She gagged hard and panic pissed a little bit in my mouth. I'm sure she noticed, but neither of us said anything. It tasted awful. Definitely not an undiscovered fetish of mine. I quietly and chivalrous drooled it onto the bed and kept going with 69, but my heart really wasn't in it after that. Edit. Thank you kind strangers of Reddit for both the gold and the laughs. Made my morning. Posted this before. But I hooked up with a guy back in college at his parents' house. When we arrived, his parents were already asleep. The guy said we had to be quiet because they would be angry if they woke up. The SX was mediocre, and at the end he made it pretty clear that he wanted to go for round 2 in the AM. That was a big no from me. So, when he fell asleep I decided to leave. So I quietly dressed, snuck through the house, and unlocked and opened the front door, and set off the alarm. Needless to say, his parents woke up. He woke up. The dog was barking, and I just wanted to go home. Then the alarm security guard got there and also witnessed my walk of shame. At that point you have to start a new life. My wife likes to stimulate her clitoris during doggy style. I accidentally pulled out too far, and when I went to thrust back and I ran the tip of my penis into her razor sharp fingernails. The blood was the worst part. After a great night I wake up, hear her yell, "Oh my god." Seems her period started sometime during fun in the dark. So my face, her neck, breasts, the pillows. And then after we moved the sheets it looked like we killed someone. Guess it was a heavy flow moment. Couldn't get it up. My ex-boyfriend talked mad talk about going down on me. So when it had finally happened, I was pumped. He does like one lap down there and comes back up. Pulls me towards him and shoved his dick in. I usually orgasm from penetration more than oral, so I was fine with it. Until he got half a pump in before he came. I tried to go down on this girl. And it was like a vinegar-filled hot pocket that had been dropped on the floor of a barber shop. It hit my first gold. Thank you. My best friend dated this girl back in high school with epilepsy. They were having sex and she all of a sudden slumped over on top of him and started violently shaking. He said, and I quote, "I felt my flaccid dick start rattling around limply inside her shaking vagina." He had to call his dad upstairs. Get her unconscious body all dressed before her dad arrived to pick her up. That reminds me. I work 911 as a paramedic and responded to a seizure one night. The lady was full on pistickle when I got there and had definitely had a seizure. The husband was distraught because he obviously never seen his wife like this. Well, they were banging when the lady's eyes rolled back and she began seizing. He thought she was orgasming, so he kept going and eventually she passed out. Turned out she had a tumor the size of a golf ball in her brain. No medical history and never saw it coming. Flippin' crazy. Edit. Lol at all the edgy comments. My wedding night was simultaneously the worst and best night of my life. We were both virgins and were so excited. We didn't expect anything to go perfectly. But we were really looking forward to just being so intimate and close together. I wasn't aware at the time that I had severe vaginismus, which is a condition that causes my vaginal muscles to involuntarily clamp shut whenever penetration is attempted. He couldn't get it in. At all. Not even half an inch. We laughed it off and cuddled the rest of the night. But I was actually humiliated and felt broken. After he fell asleep, I rolled aside and cried myself to sleep. Pulled out and the condom was gone. I literally went after it with tongs. I don't know why, but I just imagined a full firefighter group like Hold My Legs Billy in going in. This girl and I were kind of making out in a bar and all of a sudden she tells me she wants to give me a blowjob. This isn't normally the sort of thing I do, but it had been a long time since I had any sexual contact after a bad breakup. My dumb drunk self goes along with it. We find a dark corner table and she gets down to business. She had clearly gained some experience in this department and my lack of recent experiences brought the situation to a head quickly. Suddenly she stops to ask me something, but I had hit the point of no return. I tried to hold it in, but suddenly splodges geysering out of my dick onto my jeans and her hand. She just stares at me dumbfounded. I look around the room and see that 3 German guys had just paused in the doorway, and as soon as we made eye contact they pretty much all started dying of laughter while joking amongst themselves in Deutsch between gasping for air. I honestly cannot believe I did not die of embarrassment in my cum-soaked jeans that night. 1. High school boyfriend. He shared a room with his little brother, who was threatening to rat us out if we tried to fool around. So we went outside to his shed, where he fingered me. Not 1 finger. Not 2. But 3 right off the bat. Outside. It must have been November. Because that kind of cold is seared into my head. My vagina is trying to crawl up inside itself. 2. College boyfriend. Definitely a nice guy in denial, or maybe just a tool. We were getting pretty hot and heavy and his phone rings. Dude. Can you move? Dot. Okay. He's speaking to someone. Yeah. I'm hanging out with my friend right now. I resent being called a friend. Although it was a relatively new relationship, I felt that he was making it more casual than it was. Also, who answers their f-king phone during foreplay? After the phone call we go back at it for a few moments then. I don't wanna kick you out, but I promised, blank, I'd meet him in 20 minutes. Yeah. That one didn't last. I've got a few more good ones, but this is already long. Am I too late to share? I had a GF who, as soon as we started, would groan out no and stop. So, hearing this, I'd stop. Then she'd get belligerent, screaming at me. What had you stopped for? You said to stop. No, I didn't. So we'd have to restart the whole ordeal because the mood got killed. And I'm always the one who has to do all the foreplay. As soon as we get back to business, she begins the cries of stop, don't, and no. I stop. And we fight about it because she keeps insisting she isn't, saying she doesn't want it. We try one more time. She tells me not to stop no matter what. So we go through foreplay again and we get to it. She starts crying for me to stop. I obey her earlier commands and continue past the rejections. She then proceeds to ball a fist and deck me right in the side of the head. Then shove me on the floor while I'm dazed. She screams at me to go FCK myself and storms out. Next day, she acted like nothing ever happened. The first time I rubbed my ex's dick. I insisted on using a condom, so we did, but when he was getting close to coming he pulled the condom off and then went back in for a bit and then pulled out at the last second to finish. It all happened too fast for me to even be able to stop him. He gave me chlamydia. It was pretty shitty. Edit. Thanks everyone for your kind and supportive responses. This happened 6+ years ago. I was a young 20-year-old college student and didn't exactly realize the gravity of the situation at the time. I cut ties with him and a lot of our mutual friends because I thought they were arrogant assholes, but this is the first time I've ever really considered that it was actually rape. That's not consensual. I had a girl once whose vagina literally smelled like heavily concentrated ammonia. Not even trying to be funny for the sake of Reddit, but seriously, it was actual sinus clearing ammonia. I don't know if that's some sort of medical condition or what, but she seemed completely unaware that it smelled like that. The second she took her panties off, my eyes literally started to water and my nose started burning, and I'm not joking. A buddy of mine in high school finally banged this girl he liked. When he came out of her room, he didn't look so good. I said, "What's the matter?" And with a 1,000-yard stare on his face, he said, I dunno. You ever smell the air from an old tire? Full stop. Gross. My first GF had a rank PSSY. Smelled like fish taco day at school. However, I had been so used to the joke growing up of girls having fishy smelly pussies. I thought that's just how they were. My next GF, who was normal, I thought she was blessed with some kind of mythical sweet candy PSSY. I was on a second date with this guy from a Cupid, one of my first dating experiences after coming out of a 9-year relationship. And I was pretty inexperienced. He was a nice enough guy, but we didn't really have a ton in common. And we both knew that. So to make up for it, we had a couple too many drinks. One thing led to another. He ended up in my apartment. And clothes came off. I can't really say I remember a ton about the lead up to sex. But the moment he started sobbing, mid-pump, and wailing about his Catholic guilt, is completely burned in my brain. I kind of patted his back for a second. I was drunk and a nice person and also intensely confused, and then kinda pushed him off of me. We got dressed silently. And then he asked if he could spend the night and just cuddle. I declined. And he rode off on his bike. I deleted a Cupid. Edit. A Cupid. I did not delete Oklahoma City. Please be a bicycle, please be a bicycle. Had a girl come over after a good Tinder date. Very attractive girl. Wanted a consistent sex partner. I joked about how she wasn't able to find it and she said she must be bad at picking up guys. Whatever. I was down. Anyway, she came over and gave me head. Fantastic, but right before sex she says she has some vaginal condition that makes sex complicated. Apparently sex is extremely painful, but she craves it, so she does it anyway. But the catch is she used numbing cream. I put on a condom thinking I'll still feel it, and we go slow. About 5 minutes in and she asks if I'm still hard. I told her I didn't know. I honestly didn't. I pull out and there is blood, numbing cream, and my erect penis. We stopped because it hurt her too much. I didn't feel a thing and was honestly baffled seeing my dick and not being able to feel it erect. Edit. Yes, the numbing cream went through the condom. Also, an L on the first date? Man, what a shitty condition. That sucks. This dude boasted about being great at fingering. Then proceeded to scrunch up his fingers while they were inside me, so the knuckles were protruding, and twisted his fingers about. How many seconds before you came?